Now at 5 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, 3 men are facing charges of aggravated assault in connection to an assault case on New Year's Eve. And razor wire still remains along a contested section of the southern border even after the Supreme Court's ruling. Plus, road closures and school cancellations are in effect in some Texas cities, all due to the heavy rains moving across the state.
We have one more night of stormy weather, as a matter of fact. Right now, we're getting a little bit of a clearing, as you see right there. But out here along the border, that's the next system coming in sometime after midnight. So tomorrow morning, we may have our worst flooding. But the good news is then by afternoon, we start clearing up. So we'll be talking about what to expect tonight and into the weekend coming up in just a moment.
Plus, a plane crash near the Ukrainian border leaves multiple dead. Now there's conflicting reports on which side is to blame. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. Let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac, how much more rain can we expect?
Well, that's going to be the tricky question for tonight. We're probably going to see another inch of rain. Of course, we've had a lot, almost 2 today. And then, of course, Monday, and then it's all sort of adding up. But now we're beginning to see more and more widespread flooding. A lot of folks up in Gonzales know exactly what I'm talking about. We've had a couple of thunderstorms roll through the area. There's going to be a little break between now and maybe midnight. Then the last hurrah comes in. So tomorrow morning may be our worst flooding potential. But the best news is that then we're going to start pulling out of this, and we're going to be getting a little bit clearing weather as we get to the weekend. We've got that system out there along the Texas border. As you can see right about here in the blues, we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches of rain. In the purples, we're looking at 3, and out here in Gonzales, we're looking at 4 and 5 inches of rain that fell last night. So we'll be talking more details about what to expect tonight and into the weekend coming up a little bit later on. Karina, back to you.
Mac, thank you. This morning, the Gonzales Fire Department asked for help from the Nixon and Smiley Fire Departments to help a victim who was swept off the roadway due to flood waters. You can see the semi-truck, and it went into the flood waters. But with the help of a water rescue boat, emergency workers rescued the man and got him to safe ground. Luckily, no one was hurt. Now, this is what one resident in Inez is dealing with. His name is Glenn Zandontini, and he says he's lived in the 300 block of Miller Road since 1969, but he says recently it seems his property floods more during a rain event. We reached out to Victoria County Commissioner Kenneth Sexton, who says he'll look into the area to provide help if he can. 25 News Now weekend anchor Adam Seibel will take a closer look at this issue tonight on 25 News Now at 10. Bringing us to your viewer poll this afternoon. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, do you feel like flooding in your area has gotten worse over the years? Yes or no, or about the same? We want to hear your opinion on this. Come to CrossroadsToday.com/vote to take part. We're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6. Now, the following road closures have been issued due to high water and heavy rain in Victoria County. That's going to be Tipton Road at Casablanca Ridge and Benbow Road at Garcia's Creek Bridge. For the complete list of road closures in the Crossroads area, visit CrossroadsToday.com. This morning's heavy rain caused widespread flooding across parts of southeast Texas. Multiple motorists had been stranded under an overpass in Beaumont because of flash flooding. Thankfully, no one had been inside the vehicles when authorities arrived to the scene. Beaumont police said they responded to many stalled vehicles and wrecks throughout this morning. Forecasters say 3 to 6 inches of rain is expected to fall by Thursday morning. Now, over in Austin, heavy rain caused road closures and disrupted school today. Forecasters reported that consistent rain dropped 8 to 10 inches of rain in the last 48 hours in Fayette County, just southeast of Austin. Flash flood warnings have been issued, including one for the Colorado River, where it rose out of the banks near LaGrange this morning. All Fayette County school districts have canceled classes for the day. Other area districts have either done the same or issued delayed start times because of the flooding. Now, of course, as the heavy rain continues and flash flood warnings are issued in many parts of the state, like we mentioned, Texas state emergency authorities and weather experts are advising drivers to turn around, don't drown. They say if you come across a water-covered roadway, find another route, no matter if you're driving a small car or a big truck. 3 men were taken into custody by Lavaca County Sheriff's deputies near Austin Thursday. 23-year-old Miguel Mendula and 34-year-old Enrique Mendula face aggravated assault charges causing serious bodily injury charges. 20-year-old Jesus Mendula was arrested on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. All 3 suspects are also on immigration detainer. This is connected to an assault on New Year's Eve at a home near Moulton. The victim was beaten and stabbed to death, or rather stabbed, suffering cuts to his chest, stomach, ribs, and hand. He also suffered a head injury from being struck with a blunt object. Those 3 suspects are in the Lavaca County Jail in lieu of $75,000 each. Authorities say the case is still under investigation. Razor wire is still along a section of the U.S.-Mexico border, even after the Supreme Court on Monday voted to let federal Border Patrol agents remove it. The razor wire was installed as part of Governor Greg Abbott's security initiative at the border. However, U.S. Customs and Border Protection have been blocked from accessing the area along the Rio Grande.
Fencing, razor wire, and other barriers still remain along the river near Shelby Park and Eagle Pass that Governor Greg Abbott has installed as part of Operation Lone Star. This after the Supreme Court's decision on Monday to allow federal agents to remove the razor wire.
That decision does not say that we have to remove barriers. In fact, we're adding more barriers.
The emergency appeal granted by the nation's highest court reverses a ruling by a lower court that barred federal agents from cutting the wire.
And they're adding this other barrier here.
The Biden administration arguing the razor wire prevents Border Patrol agents from doing their job. It's a dispute that spans from D.C. to Texas as Governor Abbott continues to slam the Biden administration for not enforcing immigration laws.
Shelby Park connects us to the river. It is part of our culture. It is part of our history.
For Eagle Pass business owner Jesse Fuentes, the impact extends much deeper than just political rhetoric.
We have no access to it. There's tons and tons of concertina. There's shipping containers.
Fuentes wishes state and federal lawmakers could work together to find solutions.
The tactics, the techniques, everything that's happening on the river is just not who we are.
The day after the ruling, the Department of Homeland Security demanded Texas give it full access to the border by this Friday. A plane crashed near the Ukrainian border Wednesday morning. Russian state media claims 74 people were on board and all of 74 of them had been killed. While the cause of the crash is unclear, there are conflicting reports about who or what was on that plane. One report said the plane carried 65 Ukrainian servicemen ahead of a prisoner exchange. But Ukrainian sources said the plane was not carrying prisoners of war, but missiles instead. No other source have verified these claims. In Gaza, thousands are fleeing a major southern Gaza city. Many of these people had already fled from the northern part of the region. The Israeli military says it has surrounded the city and they have ordered the evacuation of the main hospital there. But staff say it is impossible to leave because of the heavy fighting. The death toll since October 7th is now over 25,000 Palestinians. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. The Calhoun County ISD Police Department is investigating an accidental discharge of a weapon that happened during a safety check. No one was injured. And a man is facing a 15-year sentence by a Jackson County judge for the online solicitation of a minor. Plus, Calhoun High School's theater director has been awarded with the Texas Thespians Hall of Fame Green Apple Leadership Award. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Now, early voting for the City of Victoria mayor runs through January 30th. Early voting is, of course, at the Dr. Patty Dutson Public Health Center, 2805 North Navarro, Classroom A. You can vote this week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On January 29th and 30th, you can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On the ballot is Peter Brown, Carissa Winters, Josephine Solis, Duane Crocker, Jacob Sauceda, and Robert Bob Constantine. Join us Saturday, February 3rd for complete coverage of this special mayor election. And Be Well Victoria is holding a panel on the face of homelessness on UHV's campus on 3007 North Ben Wilson inside the auditorium. This panel will provide an opportunity for those who want to learn more on homelessness from those who have experienced it before. The event will be held on Thursday, February 1st and runs from 1 to 3 p.m. Now remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. The CEO of Boeing is on Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers in the wake of that door plug blowout earlier this month. That's straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. Also ahead, the New Hampshire primary is now over. Now the presidential candidates are gearing up to take on the next states in their campaigns. Former President Donald Trump won a third Republican presidential nomination Tuesday, securing the New Hampshire primary. His victory was a blow to former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, but she has vowed to stay in the race. On the trail in Virginia Tuesday, President Biden said he's ready to take on Donald Trump. He received an endorsement from the United Auto Workers today as he addressed the union in Washington. Biden plans to sway blue-collar workers his way in critical automaking swing states like Michigan and Wisconsin. Boeing CEO is on Capitol Hill today to meet with lawmakers who have followed the recent incidents involving Boeing planes, particularly the mid-air door plug blowout on a new Alaska Airlines flight just earlier this month.
Amid growing scrutiny, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun faced questions from U.S. senators in the wake of the Alaska Airlines mid-air door plug blowout on a 737 MAX 9.
Constructive, shared everything I could.
Alaska Republican Senator Dan Sullivan taking part in the discussions, calling them frank. He said his main concerns were safety and how hundreds of MAX 9s remain grounded as Boeing pauses manufacturing to focus on quality control.
No other state whose constituents are being more impacted by this than mine. You do not want to be legislating on aviation safety after some big disaster or crash.
Calhoun didn't answer reporters when asked about a Seattle Times report that suggested the door plug was taken out for repair at Boeing and incorrectly reinstalled. If that were the case, Boeing would be primarily at fault rather than the supplier in Kansas.
We don't put airplanes in the air that we don't have 100% confidence in.
Just days ago, video captured sparks shooting from the engine of a Boeing 747 cargo plane over Miami. And in Atlanta, a Delta Boeing 757 lost a nose wheel as it prepared to take off. This after Alaska Airlines CEO Ben Minicucci told NBC News he's frustrated and angry after inspectors found loose bolts on many of Alaska's Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets.
Boeing is better than this.
United Airlines also finding loose bolts, saying it's now rethinking its commitment to future Boeing orders. Calhoun also met with Senator Maria Cantwell, who chairs the Commerce Committee. She's been demanding answers from the FAA on oversight and plans to hold a hearing on the issue soon. M. Wynn, ABC News, Washington.
The Biden administration is urging the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse abortion pill curbs. The administration asked the court to maintain broad access to the drug, specifically mifepristone, most commonly used for medication abortions, saying that restricting its availability would harm women and healthcare providers. The pill's makers have also filed a written brief on Tuesday in its appeal of the Fifth Circuit ruling. Oral arguments are set to be held early spring, with a ruling expected by the end of June. The National Institute of Health says Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, and a new study suggests a simple blood test may be a step closer to reality.
When it comes to Alzheimer's, the earlier the detection of the disease, the better.
Maybe change the trajectory and progression of disease better in an earlier stage.
Geriatric medicine specialist Dr. Babette Tusi with Cleveland Clinic says early detection also allows patients to plan for the future. In a new study, researchers say a simple blood test has high accuracy in not only detecting Alzheimer's, but catching the disease even before symptoms begin to show. The test screens for a type of protein called phosphorylated tau, or p-tau.
It shows that very promising, that correlates how likely somebody has this abnormal high level of p-tau in the blood may have those amyloid plaques in the brain.
Tusi says this test is much less invasive, less expensive, and potentially more accessible than traditional screening tools, which could get those at high risk for the disease help earlier.
This one is more tailored, more customized, and people have better understanding if we really are heading to our Alzheimer's direction, or if it's not and it's negative, it has its own value to explore other alternate for cognitive changes.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Here's some of the top headlines you'll find in the Courier Record. Stacey Love announced his candidacy for County Commission Precinct 1, and David Guillardo hired as general manager for the Drainage District. Read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The clouds are still out there, but the rain is letting up a little bit. As a matter of fact, we're at 62 degrees. I mean, the thermometer has not been much of a factor. We've been in this very balmy weather. We got up to 68 today and all that cloud cover and rain. And the rain, well, let's see, 1.72. So almost about 2 inches today. That puts us at about 7 for the week. Now, there's one more night of stormy weather, and then there's clearing as we get to the weekend. So we're going to talk about that coming up in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Obviously, another soggy day with almost 2 inches of rain in many areas and heavier totals here and there. There's a little bit of a clearing line right about there, but the heaviest stuff right now is way down there. You can see it right there in the Rockport area. So those of you in Seadrift and even Port O'Connor need to be on the lookout for this. That one already passed, but this one coming up from the south. And that might be, shall we say, a little bit of a break afterwards. Before midnight. All right. Last night we really got a big surge of moisture from pretty much Nixon to Gonzales all the way up to Smithville. They got about 6 inches of rain as we're waiting basically for the next system. Here it is. It's already out in Del Rio. This one's going to cross. It's an impulse running over this very moist field. And okay, imagine like this. You have a lot of water, right? Then you get a vacuum cleaner, right? And then you pass it over the water, it pulls the water up, right? Well, it pulls it up into a cooler atmosphere and therefore it condenses and it drains back down. So that's the next little pull of air, a vorticity as we call it, that's going to be rolling into our area. There you see Victoria in the blue and then a lot of purples around the area. Let's go see the scale. Well, we've got blue being 2 inches, but when you start getting into the purples, we're looking at 3 inches. And then you're looking at 4 and 5 inches up here in the Gonzales area. And there was this big swath all the way up, I guess, to almost College Station with the really heavy rainfall. I'm talking in the 4 to 6 inch range last night. So there have been some heavy spots. So as we expected, now the rivers are going to start to rise. And those of you that live along river bottoms, just consider that, Bloomington. You know I'm talking about you, right? So here's what we expect. Here's where we are right now, beginning to get at flood stage. And then it's going to go up fairly rapidly to what's being considered, let's see, we're calling it moderate flooding at 27 feet. So that's going to last through the weekend before it starts decreasing unless there's more rain. But I don't think there's any more rain. We have all kinds of watches and warnings. Now in the dark green, that's a watch. Watch out for flooding. In the light green, it's like warning. It's happening right now. So there's a lot of low water crossings up in this area, all the way up here that are, of course, at either having water over them or are bank full or, and we were talking, everybody says, well, I got a little car, I'm going to get flooded, right? Yes. Yeah. And then I said, well, I got a big pickup truck. It's a, F-250 or something. Did you see the 18-wheeler that got rolled off? Okay, it was an 18-wheeler tanker, and that got rolled off by water. So, hey, it doesn't matter how small or large your car is, it can be affected by that. So here we are right now, most of the rain beginning to pull out of the area. This is the futurecast. So we're going tonight, 11 o'clock. You see out here. Here's the city, here's the next big cluster. You see that moving through by 2 a.m. And then in the morning hours, we start getting a little bit of clearing. So once that one last cluster moves through, then we're going to start actually clearing out. You're going to see the sun tomorrow afternoon. Wouldn't that be interesting? And then as we get to the weekend, well, all of a sudden things are looking much better. So let's take a look at your day planner. We start off cloudy and then you get some sun in Port Lavaca. We start off cloudy and then you get some sun in Cuero. And through the weekend, well, there's no alert day. Forget that. I'm going to take that off. Frontal system clearing up, sunny skies as we get to the weekend, and cooler temperatures as we get to early next week. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody that we've got a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Matt. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we're going to take a look at your stocks. Plus, eBay continues the trend of layoffs in the tech industry. Those layoffs numbers up next. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow down 99 points, the S&P 500 up 4 points, and the Nasdaq up 56 points. Oil up 72 cents, closing at $75.09 a barrel. eBay plans to lay off about 9% of its workforce. They also plan to scale back contracts with its alternate workforce in the coming months. eBay's chief cited the, quote, challenging microeconomic environment, unquote, for the cuts, adding that the company's headcount and expenses have outpaced the growth of business. eBay isn't alone with job cuts in the tech industry. Amazon has also cut hundreds of jobs, while Google hints layoffs could be coming in the coming months. Stay with us. We're going to take one last look at your forecast. Plus, some reptiles in Beaumont have found a way to adapt to the recent cold snap. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up tonight, the major flooding and tornado threat from the south right up to the northeast. In Philadelphia, the teenage murder suspect who broke free, seen going from building to building trying to use the phone. And the horrific discovery in the Mojave Desert tonight. The aerials coming in now. We're next.
Snap in parts of the southern U.S. have forced some exotic animals to adjust to the frigid temperatures. Alligators at the Gator Country Sanctuary in Beaumont are staying in below frozen ponds in hibernation, with only their snouts sticking out of the ice to breathe. The sanctuary's owner said they can stay in the icy waters for days and will even keep close together for warmth. The park is also closed while the gators stay underwater to survive the cold, but Gator Country plans to reopen tomorrow. Now, of course, a reminder from TxDOT: do not ignore or go around road closed signs. They are there to warn you of roads too dangerous to drive through. And remember, don't drive in high water. And the person who's been reminding us about this the most is right here next to me.
It said road closed, and I'll go around it. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know why people risk that. It's a tale as old as time.
People do. And then, you know, that video you showed about that 18-wheeler they got, that's classic. They're going, oh, my car will make it through that. Not necessarily. You know, anybody can get affected by that. So tonight is going to be another rough night. We expect thunderstorms overnight, By sunrise, however, a lot of that should start pulling out of the area. And then Thursday looks like an improving day. No alerts, no flooding, none of that. The only problem is, of course, now the water's going to drain down into the river bottoms. And so, the Guadalupe and the Navidad and all of our area rivers, the Aransas, are going to be on the rise. If you have property down there, you have equipment down there, or you need to cross a low water crossing to get to work or home, just consider that the rivers will be on the rise. Right now, the Guadalupe is going to get up to about 27 feet here in the city, and that's the part where, it starts getting out of its banks. So the good news, or the bad news, is one more night of stormy weather. By tomorrow, hopefully, we'll start clearing out, and we're looking for a clearing and cooler weekend. Look at that, only 61 degrees on Sunday.
It'll be nice, yeah. Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with Dave Amir is up next.